Shakalaka!
Today's episode of the Swing Podcast is brought to you by Thrive Fantasy. Do you think you know fantasy? Do you think you know player props? Well, Thrive Fantasy is a daily fantasy sports app built for that. With over 1.3 million in prizes since launching in 2018, only worry about the top tier athletes in your sport. In an NBA lineup, choose 5 out of the top 10 player prop options to build your lineup. The more risky the option, the greater the prize pool. Use promo code SWING when you sign up today and receive an instant $20 bonus on your first deposit of $20 or more. Download Thrive Fantasy on the App Store or Google Play, or visit their website at www.thrivefantasy.com. Sign up and prop up today. Hello and welcome to the Swing, where we the North have secured for the 5th season in a row a 50-win season, getting us into the playoffs. We're here to discuss the first round matchup of the Toronto Raptors and just what we can expect when we go up against our likely opponents. What do you think, Masai?
Yes, the Brooklyn Nets. Fuck Brooklyn! That was never doing a Messiah impression again. Really excited. Dude, playoff basketball is back. The Raptors are back in the playoffs. Another incredibly successful season. Despite all of the criticism, despite all of the injuries, the Raptors are back looking just as good as if nothing's changed. Still the champions, okay? Really excited to talk about some of the players and, you know, what Brooklyn means in a playoff series. But I just want to say, guys, it's back to the times where we can stress out about game 1 and not winning it ever. About Kyle Lowry having like 0 points. Like, people hit all the Kyle Lowry closet haters are all gonna come out and just,
nah, he's a champ. Don't be hating on my boy.
But if I see anyone in my groups talk any smack or any bad on Kyle Lowry's name, you will find me in front of your doorstep. Anyway.
You all right, man? You cool down?
Listen, I am an incredibly different person when it comes to playoff basketball with the Raptors.
Oh, man.
I try to watch it on my own because I become a coach, and I'm a lot of profanity towards the refs. Another thing. Referees. The anxiety with referees is back, but now it's at a point where it's going to cost us.
Easy. Look, chill, Owais. The playoffs are starting. That's what's important. The reason I can never call a sweep is because game 1 is likely to happen. Just expect it. Just accept it. It's fine. It's Toronto. But what's important here is that with another 50-win season, we continue to be the best regular season team since 2014-15, most wins, the greatest winning percentage that we have had of a regular season in our history, 72.5% there.
That's insane.
In a year where we have been absolutely ravaged by injuries, and apart from one game that we do need to talk about, against one opponent that we need to talk about,
and that we're probably likely going to face
potentially in the second round.
Yeah. Do you want to start with that?
You know what? It's one of those where people ask me about good news, bad news. I always want to get the bad news out of the way first.
Okay, let's do it.
The Boston Celtics have been a thorn in the Toronto Raptors scheme.
Really big time.
I have never seen in a long time the kind of licks the Toronto Raptors took that day. That is the offensive performance. Just think about this. We needed to score, 47 points in the fourth quarter so we could lose by 22. Because we scored 17 in the first quarter.
Listen, the shooting was doo-doo. But you got to give credit where it's due. In the sense that Boston was, like, some of the shots that they were throwing up and making, it was like lights out for them. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. Kemba played like shit, no offense. He hit a big shot in there, but the thing is that that's the difficult thing, right? There's going to be days where that team is super hot, and there's going to be days that they're not. And unfortunately, they've just been extremely hot against the Raptors this season.
Yeah. Look, we lose the season series 3-1 against them. last time we faced him. We did come off a W on December the 28th, which was also on the back of an incredibly disappointing Christmas game.
Finally got it, and we just made ourselves look like idiots.
It was terrible. It made us look horrible.
Dude, but the analysts had such a freaking... they had a day with that, man.
That was...
This is the champ? Okay, sorry.
But look, it is a thorn matchup for us, and even more so because of the kind of comparisons that are coming out before this, right? If you guys had been following on NBA.com, an article had come out kind of preceding the game talking about if you had the choice of choosing between Jason Tatum or Pascal Siakam, who would you take? And, of course, as expected, the article ended up heavily favoring on Jason Tatum, which I took massive issue with because of the fact that, first and foremost, Pascal Siakam...
He's a champ.
Forget the fact that he's just a champ. The finals series that he had in his first finals was incredible. 20-10 on 50.5% shooting, including the game-winning shot over Draymond on a nasty fake to put up that floater and ice what would become the North's first championship. There is just so much more consistency that we have seen up till now in Pascal's game versus Jason Tatum, who does have a lot of talent. I would say, much as part of the article said, that Jason Tatum could potentially have a higher ceiling. You know what? Maybe he could. But at this moment, there is no reason why I would be looking at Siakam being underneath Tatum. But when you have these kind of games and the kind of bubble that Siakam has had on the way back, it has been disappointing to say the least. Yes. I feel like he's trying to do something out of his skin. He's shooting up shots that is just like...
It's really awful.
Come on, man.
To be honest, I think what's happened is that through this process of the bubble, or even just having that pressure of being that number one guy on the team, has gotten to him. And started off the season pretty well. Actually, he's played a pretty consistently good... He had a pretty good season as a number one,
Look, first-time All-Star, averaging 23 points a game, had a pretty solid season from the field. Look, he has taken a hit as far as efficiency is concerned, but you know what? Some of that was to be expected just because of defenses keying in on him. And secondly, I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact that he has now looked to expand his range further. He's taking a lot more threes this season. He's hitting 2.2 threes a game, and that's actually gone up as far as the bubble is concerned. However, it's just his shot selection, and in general, the Pascal Siakam that I'm used to seeing is the one where he's like water. Stuff doesn't faze him.
Yeah.
Right? He will go in, play hard. His motor is absolutely second to none. And when things don't go his way, he still comes back and looks to just push it. But what I'm seeing in parts of this bubble is just how much frustration he's showing.
100%. And I'll tell you, I've tried to pinpoint what it is about Pascal that has changed from something we've seen earlier in the season or even last year to now. Kawhi. And now it's just too much attention on Pascal, so defensive schemes are now catered towards him, and he's struggled. He's absolutely struggled, and you can see it in his confidence.
Yeah, and look, and I think in many ways he's also trying to shoot himself out of it, which
is not his game.
It's not necessarily. He's shooting up nearly 7 to 8 threes a game, which is like, I understand that is something that we'll need from Pascal. It's an important part of his game overall, and one of his biggest improvements overall in this year has been his capability to shoot the three from the top of the break and pretty much off the dribble. But what Pascal had made his bread and butter from an outside shot perspective was his capability to take that corner three.
Yeah.
He's not doing as much of that, and I think a lot of it just has to come down to, as you said, he is trying too hard. It just comes down to him, in my opinion, trying far too hard. In his mind, he is the number one option on this team. I get that, but we're the kind of team that has always been ride with what's working at that time, right? If Pascal's game isn't naturally coming at that point, get everything else going and get the easy shots, get yourself to the line, and get yourself going that way. But him being the kind of slasher that he is, he should be getting to the free throw line a lot more than the 4 times a game that he's doing so far in the bubble.
Yeah.
Right? It's just the games that he has had And the ones that have been most disappointing have been against the biggest teams, which is why it's like, come on, Pascal, we need you to not be pushing to this point where you're yourself putting yourself in trouble. Against the Lakers, you shot 5 of 17. Against the Boston Celtics, you shot 5 of 15. And so many of those shots were just ill-advised shots where you're making yourself worse because you're taking shots that are just not going to be going in.
Out of your comfort zone. You're not there yet. And again, I think the one word of advice to a lot of those players that kind of assume that new role and expect themselves to perform a lot better, just keep it simple. Keep it simple. That's the biggest thing that you can do, right? So Pascal's game has always been very simple. It's like I'm going to use my pace and I'm going to use my length to my advantage. And right now, that's not what he's doing. What he's actually trying to do is use power as a means to get to the basket. That was never you. You used to finesse your way into that slashing situation, right? So, your lanky hand is towering over that next guy, or you're creating angles with that length off the glass when you're making this really tough layup. But now you're trying to go right through people and it's not working for you. And then you're trying to, if that's not working for you, then you try to get to that mid-range game, and your mid-range game has improved, but it's still not at the level where you can consistently make shots. And then you go talk about your three-point shooting, you're not shooting with confidence. So right now you're in a trifecta of offensive drought. But what you can do is just keep it simple. And one thing, though, I will say is consistently Pascal has showed us is that his defensive game is still something that you can rely on day in and day out. And that is something that if maybe he's not making an impact on the offensive end, you 100% know he's there on the defensive end.
No doubt. And that idea of making that impact, I think one of the other places where you've seen Pascal not be as good this year as he has been in previous years has been on the offensive rebound.
Oh, yes.
He's pretty much averaging a rebound less on the offensive board than he was a year ago, and in fact has been throughout his career. So it's just one of those things where Pascal has definitely moved his game further and further away from the basket.
Absolutely.
And that's fine because that is an important part of your game. But for you to not be then pushing back to that bread and butter and plain and simple outrunning your matchup 95% of the time, which is what you'll have. You will always have that advantage being
1000%.
Pascal, that you will be faster than the guy who's next to you, and the fact that you can stay ahead of anyone. They put through. That's what's made you so effective. It's so unique, so effective, right? There's no need for you to play like you're Joel Embiid trying to shoot threes as well. Like, it's just one of those where these guys who have the capability so dominant down there and have their strengths, if you're getting away from that, then it's not as important as you having improved a certain weak link, which is going to be upping your floor, but you're hurting your ceiling by constantly just making it so that is your game.
Yeah, you're molding yourself, so your effectiveness uniquely came, again, like you said, from a unique place, as weird as that sounds. You're now pushing away from that, which is fine, but you're molding yourself into what you might see as the ideal player in the NBA, and you're stripping away the identity that you have for yourself in that pursuit. Now, my thing is that, look, try your shots. Get it out of your system right now. You have a lot of years ahead of you to work on that game. Right now, you need to win. So when it comes down to the playoffs time, I want to see an aggressive Pascal. But, and also one thing that I noticed about Pascal that I haven't seen in forever is how, he was a light, loose character, smiling all the time. You hardly see him smile now.
That's true.
He's very serious. And
I don't like to read too much into those kind of things because you never know.
I think it's had a huge effect on his performance. He's not as happy as he was before because he doesn't know. Maybe he's taking the criticism too hard, or maybe he's just a big critic of himself, and he's not having fun anymore. It's more of a job for him at this point. But who cares? That's something that I'm psychoanalyzing, super away from what we should be talking about. But yeah, Pascal needs to be more dominant, and he needs to start scoring and be that number one option in order for us to be successful in the playoffs. And a great opportunity for him is to do that in Brooklyn, because I personally don't think there is anyone in Brooklyn that can handle him. Quite honestly.
No doubt. Look, you're going to be in a situation where they are already undersized with having pretty much only Jared Allen as their main center guy. But you're going to be playing the 4 vast majority of the time, which is actually going to likely put you up in a matchup against someone like Rodion Kurucs, and those which are all undersized guys that you're going to be able to take advantage of. And for me, this series is all about Pascal's confidence, because if we are to make a deep run, as we did last year, you saw that confidence grew from the first series to the next to the next. That Orlando series, obviously, we had a nightmare game 1, right, and then picked it up from there. But if you just from a body language perspective, if you looked at the Raptors from that first series to the Philly series, and then eventually getting to, by the time you got to the finals, much like Ibaka said, they were too hot to touch.
We was on fire, baby.
On fire. And that came from self-belief, and that came from that performance that was there behind you, and knowing that you can make it at the highest level.
Right.
Now, what's been this entire season for the Toronto Raptors is how much of that championship mentality, championship DNA has been shown. Obviously, we see Fred VanVleet just taking step after step after step, to the point where I may not even be mad if we give him a $30 million extension next year to keep him. Right? That's likely going to be something what he commands. What I'm saying is that kind of championship DNA is permeating throughout the entire team, and it has. Pascal needs to be the one to feed that and be the one really at the head of it, because Kyle may be our champion and may be our leader, but you need Pascal to be the one to have his back for that to be as effective as you need it to be. You need to make that run.
100%. So Pascal, please, for Raptors fans, let's do it. And just smile, okay? Moving on. Let's talk about Brooklyn in general.
Yeah. Look, first of all, I've been very impressed by Brooklyn this entire bubble. Let's start off with that.
Okay.
They had a couple of really, really big wins in there. Regardless of who's besting, Brooklyn just had a big win against the Clippers, right? And it all came down to their strength in shooting from outside. And they have had some big, big performances from there. And it's from people that you may not necessarily have as household names. Yeah. But look, Joe Harris, he's probably the one that you know, shooting nearly 4 threes a game. Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot, who has come on in the absence of Kyrie and in the absence of Dinwiddie now, exactly, getting the opportunity to get those extended minutes, and he's played well. But to me, it all starts and ends with what has been a guy I've always talked up on the Brooklyn Nets, which has been Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert has just so much talent on his finger. His injury was so devastating in that how bad it looked, and everyone was worried that it would sap us of an incredible talent in the NBA. But the way that he has come back, and the way that he's come back with pretty much no rust. In fact, I'd say he's come back better.
Yeah.
Because you see some people get afraid. You have that.
If I do that stab,
yeah, exactly.
I might tweak it
something
again
happens. You have something. But you know what? In every part of Karis LeVert's game, and in every match that I've seen him, it's just his confidence is what's most striking to me. There's just something about certain guys that bet on themselves.
Yeah.
Right? You see that in Freddie? You see that Freddie confidence? Karis LeVert has that Freddie confidence. And he has the talent to back it up.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking about this Toronto Raptors and Brooklyn series, and I'm saying it's going to be a 5-game series because Brooklyn's going to win one, it's going to be because Karis LeVert's going to have one of those games. And in this bubble, he's been shooting 62% on the field as the primary ball handler, 20 points a game, 4 threes a game. And it's just been beautiful. It's been beautiful to watch all the way through. And LeVert is the guy who will give you fits.
Yes.
Because he's so quick with the ball.
Very much. So one thing I will say about LeVert, which I noticed in this bubble, is he's not afraid of any matchup. None whatsoever. And he has such a versatile arsenal when it comes to his offensive game that, he could give you like an easy, like really crazy mid-range fadeaway.
Yeah.
And he'll still be falling.
His
And
step
again,
back is beautiful.
60% from the field. Especially the type of shots and how much he's been playing, and how, if you look at how much they use LeVert, you would expect a guy like that to be really tired and, eventually just chucking shots up because of the fatigue. Because he's doing it on both ends of the floor too, by the way. I can't fathom how much endurance that takes, right? And I cannot fathom how much he must have, like how much confidence you need to have to continue trying to pull your team together. Because really, if you think about it, one of the biggest jokes within the bubble coming in was Brooklyn because of all the injuries that they had. They're like, who's left?
Who's left, exactly.
And he literally stepped up, took that team on his back, like he has actually pretty much done all season since he came back from injury, and he's been balling out, and that is somebody we got to really, really take care of. The Raptors are one of the best perimeter defensive teams in the league. So that is something to their advantage, especially considering most of the threat from the Nets comes from outside, as you had mentioned. LeVert, in my opinion, is someone you can only contain. You cannot stop him, you can contain him. And we have options for that. You can even put like Pascal on him. You could put OG on him, and maybe even run a box and one like they did on Curry back in the day.
Yep.
Right? It could be likely a very successful defensive scheme in this particular series. Now, I've also noticed is when you expect something from the Raptors, they just do not deliver. They do not deliver. So I am expecting them, and hopefully this backfires on me because now I'm expecting them to do it, is that they're going to play poor perimeter defense right off the bat, which is going to cost them 1 or 2 games.
Ooh, if it costs us 2 games, that'd be painful.
Right? And so they actually, the Raptors haven't even been, I don't think they shot well in the last few games either. They've been shooting really poorly. I hope they figure it out.
Our 3-point shooting has been quite good. That we are near 38%, I think, for the bubble itself, which is quite good for what it is. Mostly because Fred VanVleet has been out of his mind.
He's been out of his mind.
He's
I'm
been
talking
out of
about
his mind.
everybody else.
And our backcourt in general has been out of their mind. Kyle Lowry's also been insane. But it all just comes down to, again, as I said, this is a confidence-boosting series for Pascal. He needs to take advantage of that. Brooklyn is going to play hard. They're not going to go away. They're going to be... Look, they're looking towards the future. They're looking for Kyrie coming back. They're looking for KD coming back next year. And they're thinking that, hey, if those guys get back, and we have LeVert developing to the level that he has, Jared Allen being the rim protector that he is, although his blocks have been going down. It's weird. I don't understand. He's not jumping as much for it. It's an odd thing to watch every time I see it. But in general, if they're seeing that kind of development while still having these cheap perimeter shooters that are doing so well for them in Joe Harris, in Garrett Temple, like these guys that are now essentially veterans, shooting and keeping the defense honest at all times, they're going to feel really confident. So I think they're going to be looking to put on a show. They have nothing to lose over here.
100%.
So the Raptors have to play up to their level and actually basically make the other team understand just why they're the champs.
100%. And you have to be on, like, you think that the Raptors have nothing to lose because that's how they play most of the time. They're like, we don't have to, like,
we got something to lose now. We got something to lose
now. And Brooklyn is, again, you're absolutely right. Brooklyn is a team that doesn't have to prove anything to anyone because no one cares. Really, no one cares. And if they make an impact in this series, that could be incredibly refreshing, first of all, for them.
Yeah.
But also, it puts an asterisk on the Raptors this season, which would be really, really really hard for Raptors fans because of how well they have played. But anyway, that's pretty much the Brooklyn series. Is there anything else you wanted to mention?
Look, this. I would hope that it's a sweep. I would love for the Raptors to finally pull out a sweep because that has been kind of the one thing that's been missing in all these Raptors runs that we've had. Obviously, we had essentially a gentleman's sweep against Orlando, 5-win there, which was our best series win in all these years, right? But give me a sweep. Give me a sweep.
We swept the Bucks.
Again, reverse sweep.
Two games later. But yeah, absolutely. We would love that as Raptors fans. Some other positive notes that I wanted to put out there, and I think people that will perform in the playoffs because I think they have that mentality, is I think OG Anunoby. I think he's going to have an incredible playoff series. He's been slashing to the basket very efficiently, and his 3-ball has looked very good. And defensively, we're always able to rely on him. Marc Gasol still, I feel like he's getting better at helping out on the offensive end. But he's going to be a key factor for a lot of these matchups. Jared Allen, I don't think he's much of an offensive threat, but if you can just limit his...
It's all for him. It's all about catching the oop, and at the same time, he has a couple of floaters and stuff in there. He had a nice left-hand floater that he hit against the Clippers. That one, I was like, damn,
where'd that come from?
But Jared Allen is going to be their main threat on the inside on there. And look, if Ibaka and Gasol can't contain him, what you going to do when you have to come up against Some of the other guys
Yeah,
that are
Vucevic.
well, not Vucevic is gonna be gone
No,
first
you don't
round.
know that. You don't know that.
What is?
No, you don't know that. I'm telling you,
Well,
Orlando.
if Orlando beats the Bucks, then I guess we got nothing to worry about.
No, we don't.
Definitely not happening.
But another person that we really need to rely on a lot is Fred VanVleet. Like, I know that, he has been steady Freddy for this entire season.
Yep.
Right? And he had been steady Freddy, and he balled out in the last, half of the Milwaukee series and all of the finals.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, Fred VanVleet struggled.
Dude.
He was so bad.
Pretty much unplayable. We were talking about
Seriously.
you got to bench him for Lin
Yeah,
now.
like I was
advocating for that.
we all were, and we were really like, as soon as he gets on, we're like, oh, minus. But that's the thing, right? We expect a level of greatness from VanVleet right now. He needs to facilitate the ball. He needs to get those buckets, and he needs to shoot well. Defensively, he's always been really, really good. We need him to continue that. And I think that if there is somebody in this entire Raptors team that will anchor us past a lot of these tough games, is Fred VanVleet, not Siakam. I disagree with Siakam being that guy. I actually think it's Fred VanVleet.
Well, look, at the same time, VanVleet has a lot to play for from a contract perspective. From
yes.
I would just say his own standing perspective, in the sense that, look, Masai is going to have to decide what it is that we want to do with Fred, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants Fred back. No one is in any way going to be thinking about what to do with him. But it all comes down to, will the numbers make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Is he essentially worth
30.
superstar money? It's good, as close to super, because
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's
He
going to happen.
deserves it. He
Look,
deserves
Detroit and all these teams have already put feelers out there that
Yeah.
they're going to likely give him that kind of money, and I could see that happening. Like, one of those teams that are doing garbage at this point would be like, hey, look, 26-year-old guy, got a vote for Finals MVP, has been incredible, has been getting better and better every season, and had pretty much a season this year where in some other year he could potentially have been an all-star as well.
1,000%.
So what we're seeing is that Fred VanVleet now has to pretty much live up to those expectations,
Yes.
because he's now not a bonus.
No.
Now it's like, no, we need you.
You are a core piece to the success of this team. So you need to, as well as the backcourt is playing right now, you need to be consistent in the playoffs, because we have seen that Lowry had not been consistent in the playoffs, at least from a scoring perspective. So now we need both of these guys to ball out and score, because if Pascal's not on, who do we have left for an offensive option?
Yeah.
If we really think about it.
Oh God.
The norm guy. Yes.
Norm God. But yes, no. Look, the reason why this team has been so unique from all these other teams this year is just how many players we've had averaging in double digits, right?
Yeah.
There's just so many offensive options that are there on this team that are able to just pick up on there. But again, once it comes to the playoffs, things get tighter.
Exactly.
And things get to a point where you need the guys to be able to step up.
Step
and if
up, that's
Fred
it.
wants to show that he is that guy, and the guy we want him to be when we make the decision to keep him, he's going to have to show it in the playoffs. And I'm positive about it. He's showing it to me. He's obviously done it in the finals.
Yep.
And he is just the kind of confidence he has, the kind of stroke he has at this moment. I'm looking forward to it, man. I look forward to more Freddie Bombs.
He's just a dog, man. Like, steady Freddy. I just love that guy. Who can't love him, to be honest?
Beastly Freddie now.
Beastly
Freaky Freddie.
Yeah. A few other guys that need to pick up their game to an extent, too, is we definitely need Norm to be... Well, he's been playing great, to be honest. He's been playing very good. We just need him to continue that. Ibaka... I've been happy with him to an extent in the bubble, but he also has a tendency to kind of trail off, especially with his shot. So he'll be hot, and then baby, we was hot, and then he's not. So we just need him to be a little bit more consistent.
There's been a whole lot of not in the bubble so far, which is interesting because we saw that
he started off really, really well.
The preseason.
True. But once this game started, he has struggled.
Not.
And a lot of it is just like bricking shots. Seriously, just bricking shots. But we all know that that's not really what we're heavily relying on Ibaka for up until the playoffs start, right? We're okay with him just being Ibaka for a little bit and turning games around when we need that energy.
Yeah. Look, Ibaka is our energy guy. He's the guy that gets the defense going. He's the guy who gets the whatever virtual crowd going, all right? So whatever it is, you need that kind of hype man. We talked about every team needing that kind of guy to be able to get you going when the chips seem down. that's Serge's role alongside him being his solid, consistent guy, because he is now our 20-22 minutes person who comes in, plays key minutes, often closes games.
Yep.
So all those things are going to come in from him just being the solid energy big that he's always been with the capability to stretch the floor.
100%.
So I'm not too worried about that. I think the Raptors are, by and large, looking great as far as the bubble is concerned and looking great going into the playoffs. Again, congratulations on a 50-win season. Incredible result. Nick Nurse has now been shortlisted for the Coach of the Year. We'll have another podcast for you where we get to talk about the end of season awards, where we think they're going to go, what kind of predictions we'll have. And that's going to be it from us from here. Playoffs once again start on the 17th.
1-7, ladies and gentlemen.
1-7. We're going to get to see just how deep the North can go in its defense of the championship. Keep tuning into The Swing. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. Like, comment, engage with us. We love talking to you. And we'll see you next week. Peace.
Adios.